This is Resonance 104.4 FM. Flippin' marvellous. How you doing? I'm Nick Hennegan. Welcome to another slice of literary London, where we look at kind of things literary and London-y. And, I've got a bumper for you this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're listening to this. Oh, yes, I have. You might be listening as well, of course, on bohemianbritain.com, which is a website that I have, really. Yes, bohemianbritain.com. And if you'd like to get in touch at all, you can get in touch via nick@bohemianbritain.com. Yes, it's a new email address I've got, nick@bohemianbritain.com. Bohemian Britain, of course, is one word, but you know how it works on the internet, don't you? But, of course, we are mainly on Resonance 104.4 FM, a bit of a bumper offering this time because, ladies and gentlemen, roll on my drums. Oh, I shouldn't really do that, should I? No. I'm about to play for you, for the very first time in the world ever, the first episode of a kind of a young adult sci-fi production that I've made. It's an audio play. It's called George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. Ooh. It's not. I've just added that, for suspense, like with the drums. Oh no, no, don't do that. So, in the next 25 minutes or so, you're going to hear episode 1. It's called The White Light. And I'm quite pleased with it because it's actually a story. Already 1 or 2 people are saying, oh, George Holmes, Harry Potter, which is very, very flattering, I have to say. Although the first episode is only 7 minutes long and kind of 3 minutes of that is music. You'll see what I mean when I get there to play it for you, which I will do in a minute. But it was, I actually wrote it before Harry Potter was born. I wrote it when I was at school, which was some considerable time before J.K. Rowling came up with Harry Potter. I don't think she ever saw my book at Wheelers Lane Secondary Modern Boys School in King's Heath in Birmingham, so I'm sure she didn't plagiarize my story. And back then, in fact, George Holmes was known as Cadet Billy, for reasons I won't bore you with now, since most of my nephews and nieces have got name checks in this story. And it's actually episode 1. I know how it's going to go, how it's going to end. All the adults disappear, and George and his little sister Libby and his best mate and his older brother have not only got to save the world, they've also got to save their own mum and dad. Yeah, so I'm going to share that with you. You will be the first people ever to hear it in about 20 odd minutes. But I also wanted to say another absolute glorious, well, I don't put myself in the same bracket, of course, as this person, another writer. He lived in Chelsea, actually, towards the end. But we are celebrating, yes, on the 8th of November, 1847, there was born to the world a child called Bram Stoker. Better known, of course, as Bram Stoker. Who was an Irish author and, of course, best known for his 1897 Gothic horror, Dracula. He was also very much involved, although he was an Irish lad, a bit like myself. Well, I won't comment about that. Yeah, Hennegan, yeah, County Mayor. I'll tell you about that some other time, maybe. Yes, but he was also known for being involved in the West End of London, because he was the personal assistant of actor Sir Henry Irving and business manager of the Lyceum Theatre in the West End, which Henry Irving owned. And it was quite a big deal. I think it was 20 odd years he was doing that job. In fact, we'll come to that later on. But in his early years, Bram Stoker worked as a theatre critic for an Irish newspaper. And he wrote stories as well as commentaries. He also enjoyed travelling, particularly to Cruden Bay in Scotland, where he set 2 of his novels. During another of his visits to the English coast, he went to Whitby. And I think it's fairly well known that Bram Stoker drew inspiration for writing Dracula in Whitby. And I gather they have, around this time of the year, they have kind of Gothic weekends at Whitby. It is a lovely place. I've been there. It's been a few years since I've last been there. But the Yorkshire coast is grand anyway, isn't it? Whitby's rather lovely. So Bram Stoker, and of course, if you know the story of Dracula, it's involved. Yes, Whitby makes an appearance in the book. Bram Stoker passed away on the 20th of April 1912, and he was cremated in North London. Since his death, I should say, his magnum opus Dracula has become of the best-known works in English literature, and the novel's been adapted for numerous films, short stories and plays. So he was born in, as I say, in Dublin, Bram Stoker. The park adjacent to the house where he was born in Marino Crescent in Dublin is now known as Bram Stoker Park, which is kind of nice. He was quite poorly as a child, but after he sort of, got over that, grew up a little bit, he was usually fairly healthy. He was privately educated at Bective House School, run by the Reverend William Woods. And after he got over his illness as a child, he grew up without further serious illnesses, as I was saying, and he did very rather well as an athlete, in fact. He went to Trinity College in Dublin from 1864 to 1870 and graduated with a BA in 1870. He also paid to receive his master's in 1875, although later in life he recalled graduating with honour in mathematics. This appears to have been a mistake. It was more about, English, really, wasn't it? Yeah. He was interested, or Bram Stoker became interested in the theatre while he was a student. He had a friend, Dr. Mansell, who was encouraging him. While he worked for the Irish Civil Service, he became a theatre critic for the Dublin Evening Mail, which was, doing a lot of stuff there. He was also co-owned by Sheridan Le Fanu, an author of Gothic tales, so maybe there were influences there. Theatre critics were held in low esteem at the time. Well, maybe not a lot's changed, but Stoker attracted notice by the quality of his reviews, and in fact that was slightly where the connection came from, because in December 1876 he gave a favourable review of Henry Irving's Hamlet at the Theatre Royal in Dublin. Henry Irving invited Bram Stoker for dinner, and they went to the Shelbourne Hotel where he was staying, and they became friends. Stoker also wrote stories as well, as I mentioned. Crystal Cup was published by the London Society. He was involved with the Lyceum Theatre, as I say. He was, and also a close friend of Oscar Wilde. In fact, I believe they knew each other. They knew each other because in 1878, Bram Stoker married Florence Balcombe, who was the daughter of Lieutenant Colonel James Balcombe, and she was a celebrated beauty whose former suitor had been Oscar Wilde. Yes. So that's right, Stoker had known Oscar Wilde from his student days, and he proposed him, in fact, for membership of the university's Philosophical Society while he was president. Oscar Wilde was quite upset at Florence's decision to marry Bram Stoker, but Stoker later resumed the acquaintance, and after Oscar Wilde got into his terrible trouble and went to, live overseas, the Stokers, or at least Bram Stoker, went to visit him. So, as I mentioned, he went to Whitby in 1890. That visit was said to be part of the inspiration for Dracula. He stayed at a guest house. I won't say where. I'll tell you. It's Westcliff, 6 Royal Crescent. Because I'm actually thinking of going up to Whitby as well with my partner. We're going to go and have a look. Because it's, as I say, it's a nice place. So he wrote Dracula, and it's considered, of course, one of the classic books of horror. The original 541-page typescript of Dracula, the typescript, that the original one, was believed to have been lost. I mean, it was found in a barn, would you believe, in the early 1980s in northwestern Pennsylvania in the United States of America. It consisted of typed sheets, apparently, with lots of, imitations, and handwritten on the title page was The Undead. So the author's name was shown at the bottom as Bram Stoker. And there was an author called Robert Latham who remarked, the most famous horror novel ever published had its title changed at the last minute. Interestingly, the typescript, the original typescript, was actually purchased by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. So, interesting little story that popped up. I'm sort of feel a bit close to Stoker, Bram Stoker, not just because we've obviously got stories and you're about to hear mine. Oh, yes, you are. But because he's a member of the London Library, and so am I. And he conducted, Bram Stoker, London Library's in Mayfair in London, obviously. He conducted most of the research, or much of the research for Dracula there. And in fact, in 2018, the library discovered some of the books that Bram Stoker used for his research, complete with notes in the margin. Ooh, you get your hands smacked for doing that nowadays, I tell you. And I do quite like the London Library. It's a private library, as in you have to pay to join. It's like a members library. It's not like all the other libraries in the UK, public libraries, which are gorgeous and fantastic. And keep King's Heath Library open. That's one in Birmingham where I used to go as a kid. But the London Library is just, it's almost like stepping back in time in areas. They've got, I think, 26 miles of books in this little square. It's a great thing. So Bram Stoker was a member, and then sadly he passed away after a number of strokes, and he passed away. He was in London at St George's Square on the 20th of April 1912. Some biographers attribute the cause of death to overwork. Others talk about tertiary syphilis. So who knows? He was cremated and his ashes were placed in a display in at Golders Green Crematorium in North London, and they are still there to this very day. Interestingly, the short story collection, or Dracula, a short story collection called Dracula's Guest and Other Weird Stories, was published in 1914 by Bram Stoker's widow, Florence, who was also his literary executrix. The first film adaptation of Dracula was Nosferatu, of course, famously Nosferatu, released in 1922 with Max Schreck starring as Count Orlok. Florence Stoker actually sued the filmmakers and was represented by attorneys from the British Incorporated Society of Authors. Her chief legal complaint was that she had neither been asked for permission for the adaptation nor paid any royalty. Yep. Still happens nowadays with writers, loves. Yes. Anyway, the case dragged on for some years. Eventually, Mrs. Stoker won. She demanded the destruction of the negative and all prints of the film, and it was finally resolved in the widow's favour in July 1925. However, a single print of the film survived, of course, as we now know, became very well known. However, the first film version of Dracula didn't come about until almost a decade later. Universal Studios released Todd Browning's Dracula, starring Bela Lugosi, and then later on, another film was made. And this is from that film. Dracula, the beginning. Good stuff, eh? Yes, that's from the original film soundtrack. Rather lovely. Celebrating the fact that Bram Stoker was born on the 8th of November 1847. He passed away 20th of April 1912. He had some great quotes. Of course, the one is from the film, "Listen to them, the children of the night. What music they make." And I quite like this quote from him. He says, "Remember, my friend, that knowledge is stronger than memory, and we should not trust the weaker." God bless you. Bram Stoker. And now, of course, the moment that none of you have been waiting for. I've been writing a thing called George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. And my mate Rob Williams has done a musical track for me. And we got a bunch of kids together, basically. I'm sure they won't mind me calling them that, because they are. We went to our local pub. I borrowed a microphone, this one here. And we recorded episode 1. And so you are the first people in the world. How are we doing for time? In the last 7 minutes, yeah. You are the first people in the world to ever hear. Oh, I'm in it, by the way. Yeah, I make a cameo. I'm not a very good cameo because I'm actually trying to press the buttons on the computer as well, because we had an old computer. And I won't bore you with the technical stuff. I'll just get on with it. Here it is. Episode 1. George Holmes. The world premiere of episode 1 of George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions.
Maverick Theatre People's Company presents George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. Written, produced and directed by Nick Hennegan. Original music and studio production by Rob Williams. Starring Lucy Barton, Rebecca Bright, Grace Manson, Nick Hennegan and Henry Richards. With Rebecca Raybone. Many grateful thanks to all our supporters and friends. Episode 1, The White Light.
much, thank you. Jump on the back, George. Thanks, Dermot. What is it with that James? He's just a bully, mate. Why does he always have to pick on me? It's because you can read and write. And your knuckles aren't dragging on the floor. But he doesn't pick on you. He's just smart enough to know I'm stupid enough to hurt him back. Thanks, Dermot. You're a mate. No probs. Laters.
There you are. You were supposed to be back by 4.
He's too stupid to tell the time.
Libby, be nice to your brother.
You'd know what stupid is. Would not. Would too. Mum, tell him.
Now, come on, George. Be nice to your little sister.
She started it. Did not. Did too. Did not.
Enough! Be quiet, you pair. Why are you so late, George?
Sorry, Mum. I had a bit of trouble on the way.
Is it those boys again, love? I think we should go up to the school or have a word with their parents.
No, Mum. That would just make things worse.
All right, love. Don't worry, but we'll sort it. Would you like a sandwich?
Oh, yes, please.
Marmalade?
Yes.
Please?
Please. Do you want me to sort out the bad boys, George? Thanks, Liv.
Honestly, what am I going to do with you two?
Hello, doll.
Daddy!
Hello, love. How are you? Good day at the factory?
Yeah, good. Better now.
Join in. Family hug.
Feel the love, fam.
Hello, son.
I'm starving.
Well, give me a chance, love. I'll make you a sandwich until dinner.
Marmalade?
Of course, love.
Right, I'm going to change and watch the telly.
Me too.
Me 3. I need to get my trackie on.
Nearly finished your sandwich, George.
Okay. Phone is dead. I'll read Dad's newspaper. It's a bit boring. Oh, hang on. What? Mum, look! This headline in the paper. George Holmes has to save the world. That's my name.
Very nice, love. Here's your sandwich.
Wow. How funny is that? Mum? What's happening? Mum? Mum? Where are you? Mum! Andy, what's happening? Mum just gone. She was here with my sandwich and then this noise.
George, calm down. Calm down.
Yeah, but what?
George! I don't know what's just happened.
Andy, George, Daddy's gone. He was in his usual seat. And then he wasn't. His newspaper's still there.
Look, you two. Don't cry. There must be a logical reason for all this. What's that noise? It's in the sitting room. What? What? That's the telly.
Who's that? George? The TV. It's spelling out your name.
What is going on? What river?
Where's Mummy and Daddy?
I don't. Front door. Look, you two stay here. Damn it.
I came to see if George wanted to come out. But you won't believe what's just happened.
You won't believe what's just happened in here either.
Look, out here on the street. There was this kind of white light and then a noise just now. Then suddenly all the traffic stopped. The car engines are still running, but all the drivers have just gone. They've gone. Look, all the adults have disappeared.
So, what do you think of that then, eh? Episode 1 of my little audio drama, George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. And thanks to the guys, the kids that were on that show. Literally, we went to a pub in Hammersmith in a little back room. It's got a bar, the Cross Keys pub, God bless. And we gathered around the microphone and did all that. And then I sent the file off to my mate Rob, who wrote the music. He put it together on his computer. He lives in Devon, Cornwall. Oh, get it right. Cornwall. And that's the result. So what do you think? Let me know. If you'd like to hear any more, let me know. You can get in touch at radio@mavericktheatre.co.uk. Of course, if you've got an event or anything happening, then do let me know as well. radio@mavericktheatre.co.uk. Or, of course, as always, nick@bohemianbritain.com. N-I-C-K, Nick at bohemianbritain.com. We actually recorded episode 2 while we did episode 1 because I got the kids there and obviously their mums and dads and carers had to come along as well. We did it for no money, basically. We all just did it for the hell of it, for the heck of it. And so we've recorded. We haven't edited it yet, but I'll probably play episode 2. And if you would like to know any more, if you think it's worth doing, just let me know. As much as anything else, from the point of view of morale, it'll also be nice for my young actors if they get any positive feedback. Hey. Cool. So that's it, the world premiere. You are, yes, the first episode to hear the world premiere of George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. Well, that's almost it for now. I'm going to have to go and lie down in a dark room. But thank you so much for your company. I say, do let me know what you think of George Holmes and the Seven Dimensions. If you get a moment, just drop us a quick email. And I'll see you next time. I'm Nick Hennegan on bohemianbritain.com, but of course this is chiefly Literary London on Resonance 104.4 FM.